Hello, everyone. My name is Roy Schmidt. I'm the chemist director of the Iron Yard Greenville. Thanks for coming out, spending your Friday afternoon with us to see the work of our graduates, especially thank the people that came in from out of town. I'm glad it turned into a nice day after the cold start of the morning, but we've got a lineup of 9 projects for you today. They've been working very hard for the past 12 weeks on getting through all types of new technologies and concepts. Everybody's just been really focused, going full-time, intensive, only thinking about coding, living, breathing, sleeping, coding. Many stories of dreaming in code and just constantly thinking of problems whenever they're awake, essentially. So now today's the kind of conclusion of that program, and from here they'll be looking and then out in the world as junior developers. We're going to unleash them to the world as of today. Before we begin with the students, I'd like to introduce Mason Stewart. He's our partner of the Iron Yard and lead instructor. His official title is Cool Guy. So I'd like to have him come up and say a few words. Thanks.
I'm going to try to use this.
Check. Can you guys hear me okay? Cool. Hey everybody, how's it going? So this is a pretty exciting day. This is in Greenville. This is the 5th semester that we've run at the Iron Yard. We started about 2 years ago, and at this point, when we started, I was the only teacher. We had 7 students in our original class, and we were across the street in a hilariously run down 2 North Main building that we made it work, and now we've graduated hundreds of students, and we have 10 different campuses, and just so much amazing stuff happening. We've had the privilege to teach just some of the brightest people I've met, people who maybe even now are better programmers than I am, which is pretty awesome. I've been slogging through this for about 15 years, and we're able to cut a lot of the fat out of learning. In learning a program, which is very still Wild West style of, you can go study computer science, but computer science is, I think, very different from actually building real software. I love computer science and I have a great regard for it, but what we're trying to do is train people to actually build real software to go out and actually be useful at a startup, at a company, at an agency, big or small. And I think we've done a really good job. I'm exceedingly happy about this group because we did something a little bit experimental this time around. Jake Smith, who is our instructor, Jake is over there in the blue garden, standing to the side. Jake, beloved Jake, wanted to teach 2 JavaScript frameworks, 2 major JavaScript frameworks in one semester, which is not easy. In fact, we've never actually done that. We touched on multiple frameworks at once, but teaching 2 completely is a lot of work. And it was up to the challenge. And students, I don't know, what did y'all think? Was it easy, hard, no big deal? Yeah, it was really hard. We worked these students about as hard as we've ever worked any group. And Jake really taught them well. So I want to point out a couple things before the demos start, a couple of things to bear in mind. It is a gigantic cognitive leap to go very deep into a complicated tool like Backbone.js and then move out of that and learn Ember.js. It's a huge amount of work. All of these students did. They were able to make that leap. They were able to learn 2 different sets of nomenclature, 2 different ways of doing the same thing, all sorts of complicated stuff. They did it. So when you watch these projects, you'll see some students say, I did this in Backbone, or I did this in Ember. That wasn't a frivolous choice. Each of these students had to make a really difficult choice about the tools to use when they build their software. Honestly, that's a choice that a lot of programmers struggle to make, is how do we make intelligent choices about what we're going to build this with, and it's going to affect us for weeks or months. So all these students have had to wrestle with the consequences and the difficulty making that choice, and I think they all chose extremely well. The students who used Backbone, I think those projects were perfect for Backbone. The students who used Ember, they were perfect for Ember. I'm exceedingly happy about that. A couple other things to bear in mind, these projects are all still work in progress. 3 weeks is how long they've had to do this entire project. They had 3 weeks to design, develop, build, deploy, test their projects. That's not a lot of time. The 3 weeks is when the program ends, but many of the students are going to continue to work on these final projects beyond this class, either because they believe in it as a tool that they want to continue to build and share with the community, or something that they simply just want to put the final spin and polish on before it goes into their portfolio. With that said, you will almost certainly see some bugs as they present their projects. Some of the interfaces are not as polished as they would be if they were out in production, and that's okay. This is a huge amount of work to get done in 3 weeks. So if the interface is a little bit sparse, that's okay. Believe me, under the hood on each of these projects, there is some incredibly clever programming going on, and clever in the good sense. There's no cheating here. This is hard work that these students have put in, and I'm exceedingly proud. A couple of things, if you have questions, if you'll hold those to the end and just catch up with the individual student that you have questions for, that would be great. That way we can keep looking along through everyone's presentations. I think we got the HDMI to work. As you all saw us fumbling around up here for the last 30 minutes, I think it's working now. If it fails, we get a special treat for you. We're going to plug into the VGA, but that turns everything green. So everything will look awesome. With that said, I know the Wi-Fi's been a little bit spotty, so just like the life of a software developer, this may be a little bit rocky and rough, but I can't wait for you guys to see all these awesome projects. I'm so excited about these. With that said, I'm going to pass the mic over to Jake Smith, and he is going to MC the rest of the afternoon and get these projects going.
Thank you, Mason. So I am Jake Smith. This is my first class at the Iron Yard. I've been around a little bit for the previous year, but this class means a lot to me because this is my first cohort of my graduates. And so I just want to again echo Roy and Mason and say thank you so much for being here. This means a lot to me, but even more than that, it means a lot to my students that you care enough about them and their success and what we're doing at the Iron Yard, that you're taking your time to be here to support them. In addition, I want to add a little bit to what Mason said about the final projects. He mentioned that they had 3 weeks to complete these. And I just want to make sure that you know that they weren't just sitting there coding for 3 weeks either. What's even more impressive is that during that time they were working on their portfolios. Many of them were traveling and interviewing for positions. They were working on requirements and wireframes. They were communicating with designers. They were doing all sorts of other things. This is a very impressive feat that I don't know that I could have done it. When I first started getting programming, I don't know that I could have done this in any of these projects in 3 weeks. So keep in mind that this is, like he said, there might be a few little that are off, but for the most part, these are actually really polished applications that is just super impressive that these have been done in a short amount of time. So with that being said, I want to bring up Gesturing. She's going to be our first presenter. As she gets hooked up, I guess I'll give a little background. So Jess is from Asheville, and she traveled down to be with us here at the Iron Yard. Her previous experience is all over the place. Really, I'll kind of give her a minute to give her sort of history, but wonderful. So, take it away.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Gesturing. As Jake said, I'm from Asheville, as Jake said, and I came to the Iron Yard because my two biggest passions are making stuff and solving problems, and programming lets you do both of those at the same time, which is really exciting. It's a super great fit, and I've had a lot of fun learning to be a programmer. I'm also a dancer, which is what inspired my app. It's called Dance Card, as you can see. And off the bat, let's see, I built it using Backbone and Parse as a backend. And what it is essentially is a database of dance events for dancers to search through and find events that they would be interested in attending. As a dancer, if you've ever traveled to a new city, that can be really challenging to find events that you're interested in going to. This is a search results page. These are actual events that are in the database right now. The search results are based on a variety of factors with using relational data in the parse database. There's a location we can search for, Asheville, which has more events, as I'm more familiar with Asheville. Events are searchable by distance from location, by date range, and by type. We can filter this to be only contra dance events. It auto zooms to the results as they show up. I also have the URL updating so that your search results are shareable. You can take this URL and paste it into a Facebook or into an email and send it to a friend if you want to share with them, hey, look what's coming up in this area during these dates. This uses the Google Maps API. I don't know what else to say about that. I think that's it. You can get directions via these links here. I'm going to click to this externally. This will take you to a Google Maps direction so that if you want to attend the event, you can get directions directly to that. And this will find your current location and build directions based on that. So in order to build the database, it's unsustainable and unmanageable for me as the database manager to upload every single dance event that happens all over the country. So what this app actually is at its core is an event management tool for dance organizers. I'm logged in right now as a dance organizer, and you can see this is what it would look like if I were trying to create a new event. This is probably the most complicated thing that I had to do to build this app, building recurring events. Most events that dance organizers create occur once a month on the first whatever of the month or the second Tuesday. And I had to build in all of that logic myself so that when you create an event, you only have to create it once, and it will happen automatically every first Tuesday. I do have to fill out a few pieces of information here. When we create the event, we're redirected to our managing events page where you can see the event I created is already here, and all of the sub-events that occur every first, what did I say, Tuesday or second Tuesday are already populated and available for me to manage. I can edit details about these events here. I can manage a whole group of events at once if I want to. Let's see, so manage event page we have talked about. Finally, users, the number one thing that dance organizers requested that I provide functionally for them was being able to contact people who want to attend their events. So I built in, oops, sorry guys, some email settings for them to send and receive or opt out of receiving automatic notifications via email when they change an event that they've RSVP'd, that a user has RSVP'd to, when they cancel an event that a user has RSVP'd to, or when they have some kind of special notification that they need to send out to dancers. You can see that this user is a dance organizer. They have access to dances as a dancer, but also to dances as an organizer. So they can cancel, they can, excuse me, change their settings for both what emails get sent out automatically, but also what emails they receive automatically. And I'm gonna just show you quickly what would happen if you RSVP to an event. If you go to your dance card, that event will show up there so you can keep track of what events you've chosen to attend. The last thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of some of the soft skills that go into programming, because I know that this is kind of a lot of technical stuff, but ultimately I think that programming is it's a really great tool for problem solving and for empathy. Empathy being that if you're trying to solve a problem, if you only solve a problem for yourself, you're not doing anything useful for the community. I spent a lot of time communicating with potential users, dancers, and dance organizers about what they wanted in an app, if this was something they actually would use, how they would use it, whether they needed to communicate, whether they needed to know who was RSVPing, things like that. And took a lot of care to create an app that would be functional for them. So I'm not a designer, but I spent a lot of time working on design for this project because I know that if a dance organizer doesn't like using my website, they don't find it attractive or pleasant, they're not going to build the database that my dancers need to search. And if they haven't done that, then this website is useless. I think that's it. And problem solving, as I said, being able to solve problems for people other than myself. So if you have questions or want to do a demo of this app, please come to me afterwards. I would love to show it to you in more detail. Thanks.
As that sets up, I do want to add also to this, something that I found really impressive that she's maybe too humble to admit, is that she actually had 2 separate third-party libraries that she had to like not only write her own application, but at the same time, there were bugs or other things in these other third-party libraries. So she had to read and understand other people's code, figure out what they were doing, and then work around that by, well, there's different ways that she did that. But again, it's very impressive, so thank you guys.
So yeah, I guess, I don't know if this is optimized the way we want it. So right now, if I just stretch it down, is there anything you want to adjust?
No, we're good.
Just go with whatever you say.
Can you all see that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Whoa, that's right. I'll stand here. My name is Patrick Love. I'm from Dallas, Texas. For the past few years, I've been working by teaching English abroad in a few different countries, Thailand, China, Peru. And earlier this year, I just decided if I don't want to be an English teacher the rest of my life, or if I want to have a job somewhere in the United States at some point, maybe I should up my web skills. And that's how I ended up here at the Iron Yard. My final project today uses the Ember JavaScript framework, as well as, warning everybody, as well as Firebase for the back end. And it's meant to solve a simple problem. Everywhere I've been, I play a lot of pickup basketball, and wherever I've been, I've always had the same problem. In some of these countries, I have to cram into a bus or a subway, sit on it for like an hour to get to where I want to play, or maybe I have to bike or walk all the way up there. You get there and nobody at the court. What a waste of time. Same thing when I was growing up in Dallas. I guess the opposite problem. Sometimes the court would be really busy, and a lot of people wouldn't want to pick up a youngin like me to be on their team for the next game, or maybe even the 6th game. So how do you solve the dilemma of knowing whether it's worth your while to go up to the court? I'm hoping that this app, Who Got Next, is the answer to that problem. So I'm going to use my instructor here, Jake, as our example user today. I know Jake has told us he likes to go on the court and talk trash, one of his hobbies. I haven't actually seen him out there, but some people have told me he goes by the Myth. So we will use it for our site. Go ahead and join. Okay, we don't need to read this right now, but this would kind of explain how the site works for those that don't get a demo. So we'll just go to I'm ready to ball. So this is going to load a map. Who Got Next uses geolocation to figure out where you are. So obviously Greenville. And it loads some icons here where courts are that have been added into our database. There's also a list down here on the bottom left if you prefer to click on names. Each of those represent the icons. So if we went ahead and clicked on one, basically the court profile shows up here on the bottom. I'm gonna show that in more detail in just a second, but let's just go ahead and show a few other things. If you didn't want to look at where you currently are, like let's say I wanted to see some courts where I'm from in Dallas, you could type in an address here. And then the map will kind of refresh with courts I've added where I live. Now, before I get into the court profile, now would probably be a better time before I get into the court profile to just show that we can edit Jake's profile here. He's known as the Myth. We could go in here and actually give, oops, excuse me, I hit update profile. We could go in here. I just messed that up, guys, sorry. Okay, if you go in here, we can give Jake a picture, and we will give him that right there. So now on Jake's page, he has an avatar, and if he has some site activity, other users will be able to see who did it. Okay, so let's look at the court profiles. That's what the crux of this site is. So I'll this time get to one by clicking on the icon. If I was to click on this right here in Greenville, it loads that basketball court. It's called the Parker Basketball Courts. So you've got basic court details here.
The address, someone might add when it's closed or the lights go off, and some other details. If you found that somebody misspelled a court or the address wasn't very clear, you can go in here, edit court profile, and it will update in real time. I just made that Pat Parker basketball court. These are the alley-oop dates, which is the main part of the site. Just real quickly, you can also upload photos and Vine videos to kind of show what's going on at that court. It's not actually Parker basketball courts. It's not that cool. Okay, so here are the alley-oop dates. We have one dated November 12th, 2014. You can see the user right here. He says that six people total. We're going to arrive around 4 p.m. and they're probably going to leave at 7 or 8. Then today, it looks like we had some activity by me. I'm going to get there at 6. Player might leave around 9 and bring a better ball if you have one. So how does it work if you want to post a new update? This might be useful for someone to see that I will be at the court. And I'm glad this site isn't live because I guess I was lying. I'm not there. But if I wanted to throw down a new alley-oop date, I would go in here. Since I'm not at the court, it says what time do you think you are going to get to the court? Let's say 7 p.m. Go in here, I'll say I'll stay till 10. This would be if I wanted to say, like on this one, that there's 6 people right here. But just me right now, and I won't say anything else. So I post that, and someone can see that at 3:28, Jake is saying he's going to be there at 7, and that starts to give people an idea if there's going to be action at that court. Now, one thing that's really cool is if I was to pick, I made a dummy court today called the One Building Court. There is no basketball court in the basement, but I wanted to show you a feature of the site. Since this app uses geolocation, if I was to click on this, the address being 1 North Main Street, court is in the basement. If I throw down an alley-oop date here, the site uses its technology, and it says, hey, you know what? You're at the court. I can tell. That's interesting. And so now, instead of asking me, are you bringing anybody, the question is, how many people are there right now that seem like they want to play a game? So hopefully this information will be even more valuable. Say that there's 8 people there. I'm going to stay till 10 p.m. and it's hot in here. Okay, so we post that, and then it shows that this was posted by someone who was actually verified as being at the court. They really know how many people are there right now. So my site is pretty simple. I mean, I spent a lot of time making sure that it worked correctly. There's not that much else to show you, but I guess one idea I have is that, let's say I looked at these courts and I said, you know what, there aren't any alley-oop dates at any of these that look that interesting right now. I don't want to play to any of those. But I have to be at work in Simpsonville later today. But what I might do is drag this circle, and it updates in real time. You'll see these circles disappear if they're no longer within the radius. They're not kind of showing up on your screen. But if you come down here, you say, oh, wait, there's a court. I wonder what's going on here. I'll be working right here. So I click here, and these are the 1050 courts. All right, I've got some photos going on here, and I can see that this guy, Zach Brown, actually posted today at 12:50. So him and 4 of his friends, 5 people in total, said they'll get there around 4 or 5, so in an hour. They're going to stay all night, and afterwards we'll be drinking beer. Everybody's welcome to have some. Okay, I think I know where I'm going. So I would maybe post here and say, you know what, I'll be there at 6 p.m. I'm going to stay all night, and anything else to say, save some beer. So now, by posting this, it kind of, someone could add it together and see, okay, Zach, 5 friends, Jake's coming as well. There's going to be 7 people there. If I come, that makes 8. We've got excuse my math, that would be 6, but we've got we've got enough for a game. So that looks like a place to go, plus there's beer, right? So, I'm not going to bore you guys with like little things. Like you can add a court to the database, but that's just a normal form. I'm sure you've seen stuff like that before. But if I was to add well, all right, I lied. Let's bore you. Let's say Dib City is where a lot of us live. So if we said 111 North Calhoun, and that's in Greenville, and it's never closed, then we add that, and that's now here in the map. In the list, and it would show up if we went back up where those courts are. Now you can see there's one more than there was. So it's pretty much all there is to show. This app, it's a little bit, it's one page. So I mean, this was all I worked on. Some people have more complex apps and stuff like that, but it really took me a lot of work wrangling with the Google Maps API, getting these markers and these event listeners to kind of show up and stay there when you removed the circle or if you left the page and came back, all that took a lot of work. I certainly got a lot of practice with handlebars, reading controller properties before Ember renders the template. I used the Habermas formula to figure out the distance, whether or not someone was verified. But really, it's just been a natural step in the process. I've learned a lot from this guy, and the last 3 weeks, just kept going forward, and I'm confident at this point. If I think of more this, that I'll be able to add them in with where we've all gotten together. So, yeah, I just want to thank my classmates, Matt and Jake, for all the support. And if any of you guys play basketball, then I hope you use Who Got Next time you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. So as Jeff and Alan are going to be the next president, as they come up, I just want to mention that, again, I'm going to try to, they are all very humble, and they all, work their butts off, though. So I want to make sure that you know that Patrick spent hours and hours and hours every day wrangling with, especially that geolocation logic was extremely complicated. And a lot of these students, especially Patrick, I know, is using a non-relational database, a NoSQL database, which is really difficult to work with when you have heavy relational data like he does, where you have all these locations and events and where they call updates and all these sorts of things. I was really impressed with how you worked through learning all the new things. We didn't cover all this geolocation queries in class. He decided that he wanted to use that for his project, and he just went for it and figured it out himself. So that's really impressive. All right, so Alan and Jeff, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Coons. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. Before I came out here to the Iron Yard, I was a graphic designer. What really attracted me to coming to the Iron Yard is while I was doing something very artistic and something very creative, it's not something that doesn't really make an impact, or at least I felt like it didn't make an impact. So I wanted to come out here and really start building stuff that can make an impact on people's lives and be very useful. So that's my story.
Yeah, hi, my name is Alan Monzon, and 3 months ago, before entering the Iron Yard, I came in knowing just a little bit of HTML, CSS. I think it's awesome that I'm here now, going to present an Ember app that I learned in 3 months. So that's awesome for me.
So as Alan mentioned, we built this app in Ember.js, and we are using Firebase as our backend. We made that decision because we thought it was the best for this app. Firebase was actually decided because it worked best with Ember. And that really leads us to our biggest challenge while creating this app. As Jake mentioned, Firebase is a NoSQL database, and this app requires a lot of relational data. And so that was by far our biggest challenge.
Yeah, and the way we solved that problem was before we started writing any code or anything, we sat down, mapped the whole site the way it was going to look, and figured out what models we were going to use, what the relationships were going to look like, and cool.
So before we get into the actual app, just a brief kind of description about the app. It's the idea came about as because being a designer, I wanted to do freelance. The biggest problem I had was building a network or finding a job that I was really interested in, which as they're talking about it, we discussed it and we thought, well, the best projects to work on are the ones where both parties are heavily invested in seeing it come to life. So that's kind of the whole idea behind this is connecting a project owner and a freelancer to really bring the project to life. And here we go. So we're going to jump in. We're going to talk about the client or the project owner side.
So yeah, I work primarily on this side of the app, the customer side. And the first time you sign up for an account, you're asked to create a profile. And this is a profile page right now that I have. It's a company called Not Just Coffee. It's very simple, just the name of the company, info about it, and the contact info. What you're able to do is view all jobs, And this is where you post the job. So we'll post that job. And this is the job we just posted. So that shows up in real time.
Cool. So, as Alan was mentioning, we're actually don't have internet, so we can't really show a lot of the real-time stuff right now, which is a small little bug, but yeah, so we'll proceed on to the freelancer side. So here we have, it's a very similar process. We're creating a profile. Here, the main difference is you can actually have a portfolio so that the project owner, while looking through the freelancers, can actually see the work of the freelancers so they can make the best decision. So after posting a job, you're led to, on the freelancer side, you can see all the jobs that have been posted. Here is where the app really becomes really awesome, is you can actually place a bid so that the project owner can get as many freelancers that are invested in that project specifically. It's not just about, hey, I need a job, or hey, I know someone down the street who knows how to build stuff. Like, you're getting people that are invested in your idea. And I think that's pretty awesome. So you can place a bid, and then after placing a bid, it leads you to my bids. Here you can see that we have job, and this is where the real time comes into play big time, because as a client, you can actually accept the bid, and then immediately you can see here that the bid has been accepted, which then proceeds to probably something that, is really awesome even more, because what happens after the bid is accepted?
When the bid is accepted, we take it to a chat room that's just associated with that job itself. So only the person that bid and won the bid and the job owner will access that page, and they can start asking questions, start mapping out or planning out the project themselves. This is what that looks like.
So that really covers the functionality of this site. And just really quickly, I mean, kind of like we talked about database being our biggest challenge, but another challenge is while working on group projects throughout school or throughout our time here at the Iron Yard, this is the first project at this big a scope that we actually had to work together. And I think that was a really big challenge because there was so much going on, so much that we had to do. We always had to be in great communication. We had to be on the same page. You had to be focused. And we couldn't really do too much or go too far without communicating and getting together and figuring out what exactly we were doing. And we always had to have a goal in mind. Whether it was that day or that hour, we always had to be sure that both of us knew what needed to be accomplished. So that was a really big challenge that we overcame. And I think that led to a really great product. And that's it.
Joe, as Jay comes up next, yet again, they undersold themselves. I want to emphasize how difficult a few of our students this semester chose to do team projects. And you may think that, like, oh, they're cheating, they're taking the easy way out by getting someone else's help. But if you've ever done software development, or even if you haven't, you can imagine how hard it is not to step on each other's toes, how hard it is to work together and communicate so they're not working on the same thing at the same time, delegating responsibilities and so on and so forth. I was really impressed with how Jeff Allen pulled a really good product out. I also want to add that basically 24 hours ago, it might be a little bit embarrassing for me to tell this to the crowd. 24 hours ago, their site was just like the default browser styles, and like everything was just like floated and crammed on one side. And, like, it just looked, no offense, it did not look good. And we were like, guys, you're designers, what's going on? And they showed me this morning what they had done in one night, and I mean, I was just blown away. These guys are really talented, and I was really impressed with what they were able to accomplish. So anyway, Jay Wilson, take it away.
Cool. How are you guys doing today? My name is Jay Wilson Jr. I'm from Virginia, a little small town called Bedford. You've probably never heard of Bedford, and that's all right. If you have heard of Bedford, that probably means that you like corn or cows. We got a ton of both. This is a photo of me at work. For the past 16 years, I've been a neonatal pediatric EMT. Basically, I do get some adults, but this is my passion right here, is working with sick babies. I've been doing this for 16 years, but I felt like I wanted to do something more. And that's what brought me to the Iron Yard. I've always been interested in technology, and I've tinkered around for a number of years. One of the challenges that I faced on my job is just the sheer amount of data that I have to deal with on a daily basis during the shift. I got dispatchers talking to me on the radio, they're sending me text messages, I'm fiddling with GPSs, I'm having to go through protocol books and look up treatment protocols. And I wish that there was a way, for years, I wish there was a way that we could just synthesize all this information and put it together into one tool. And I've created a tool that does exactly that. And that tool is called ProAlert. Now, I created this app using the Ember JavaScript framework and Firebase on the back end. I also have a Ruby server as well. And essentially what happens is when my dispatcher sends me a text message, basically letting me know where I need to go, the Ruby server is parsing out the information that's key to me, such as the address, the chief complaint of the patient, as well as the incident number. And I'm able to see that in real time on the screen here. So whenever a first responder clicks on an alert, they're instantly taken to a page where they see an overview map. This is using the Google Maps API, basically giving them an overview of where they are and where the patient is. If they don't know how to get there, they'll be able to get turn-by-turn directions by clicking the button there. And then, of course, they see the chief complaint, and there's a big red button that says, go to protocol. So while they're en route or while they're right there at the patient's side, they'll be able to click that button and see the relevant protocol for the call that they're on. So no more flipping through a booklet or having to ask somebody to go get something. They have what they need right there on the screen. Now, this app looks very simple, and that's by design. It's only 3 or 4 screens because I didn't want the first responder to have to click through 5 or 6 screens to get to what they want. They should be able to access everything within 2 clicks. So that was a little bit of a challenge to figure out how I could do that, but I was able to pull it off. And I thought that I had an easy project and that I'd be done like I got to trying to model this data in Firebase, and literally my brain broke a couple times. No, it's not funny. Everything you're looking at on this page is dynamic. This is not a static HTML template. All of the colors that you're seeing, all of the sections, the subsections, getting everything, the sections in the correct order, the subsections in the correct order, and creating all these relationships in Firebase was just absolutely crazy. And literally, I spent a week before I got it right so that I could have one template, and regardless of the protocol and how many branches it had or whatnot, everything would render correctly every time that it was displayed. So as you're looking here, you'll notice that some of these protocols have links to additional protocols. With just a simple click, a provider will be able to get to the relevant secondary protocols that's related to the initial protocol. One of the great things about Firebase is the live updates. So using WebSockets, whenever an alert comes in, the provider is actually able to see it in real time. So I'm going to show that to you now. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simulate sending myself a text message. So on the right-hand side of the screen, this is just a tool that I'm going to use to send a text message. The Ruby server is going to grab it, parse out the data that I need, and then you'll see it pop up in the app here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and click send now. And you see that the alert instantly popped up in real time. So no having to refresh the page or go out of the app, come back into the app. And so now, as we see, we're going to go get someone that's been impaled. Sounds fun. And again, you're presented with the overview. And we go to protocol. There's the protocol. Like one of the most challenging parts of this project for me was just the data modeling on the back end, and then the Ruby server, because that's something that we hadn't covered. So I thought Jake was just going to build the whole thing for me because we didn't cover it. And so he sort of helped a little bit, and then he was like, I believe in you. Have you thought about Googling this? And every time I would go to him for help, he's like, I believe in you. Have you thought about Googling this? Like, I wanted to cuss him. I mean, my parents are like, Mom, I didn't cuss him. I'm just letting you know, but I just wanted to. And so that was like my biggest challenge was building that Ruby back end. And of course, you know, like I said, the data modeling. So that's pretty much my app. There's like a lot of features that I want to add down the line that I will add. But you know, that's what it is. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jay. I do want to add that he just really perseverant what I was. We're actually going to take a break real quick, so you can go. Hold on, guys. Go away, Justin. No, I'm kidding. So before we take a break, I want to just add to Jay's project that we had talked about this, and he was thinking about this idea since he first showed up at the Iron Yard, and he thought it was going to be super easy, like he said. And he's one of the, I don't want to say he's more perseverant than anyone else, but all I can say is that literally every day he would come to me with like his data structure like all mapped out. And he'd be like, is it good enough? I'm like, man, that's really great. Go back and work on it some more. So like he was just so perseverant, and one of the most complicated data structures. I know it just looks like a bunch of boxes in a row, but I just want to emphasize that from someone with this experience development, it's one of the most complicated data structures so that it can be dynamically generated regardless of the format or content that the municipality or private company uses. He developed a data format that would work to dynamically link everything together. And I was really impressed that that's something that was probably more complicated than most of the stuff I've ever even had to do. So great job, Dave. We're going to take like a 5-minute bathroom break after the bridge, that sort of thing, and then we'll start again.
Go away, Justin. Oh, I guess so.
It was fun to read a few of you in front of everyone. I enjoyed it.
This works now, so I kind of.
Justin, are you going to ruin it for everyone?
I'm going to.
Just go for HDMI and we'll figure it out if something happens. We'll figure it out.
What?
You nervous?
Is it gonna work? No, let's go.
Gonna work?
I'm not.
Yeah, they're getting ready in the back.
What? Yeah, I've only got like graders of these donuts, and then they have the lines.
Yeah, that's good. It's really draw attention to it's like just chatting. It's actually working.
Like draw attention.
It's gonna be obvious.
I think like messages are
Get
gonna
it right here.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me introduce Justin to you. He is came all the way from Greenville, South Carolina, one of our few local students. So if we could just give him our attention as he is our project.
All right, so my name is Justin Hathaway. I'm 20 years old, and before the Iron Yard, I attended college locally, and I planned on transferring to Clemson for this fall semester. Fortunately, though, I found out about this program before I started the transfer paperwork, so I'm glad I went through with this class, but I knew I'd miss out on the college experience. So I decided to bring part of that college experience to me with the skills I've developed through this course. So my app is called Interception. I began thinking that all the data that I would need to use for this app would be at hand and easy to use, but unfortunately, all the APIs with that data didn't exist for less than $400 to $500 a month. So I had, with Jake's help, he he decided I should make my own node server to get that data dynamically by myself. Fortunately, I found a web service called Kimono Labs that would that grabs the information off the page for me. But even with that, there are still a lot of challenges that I faced. So the first being that I needed to make enough requests to that API to make the data update in real time, so you have live scores. But at the same time, you don't want to make too many requests, which I found out quickly, sending 15 to 20 requests simultaneously, getting 15 to 20 errors back. So another part of it was syncing to the backend in real time. And on top of all of that, just dealing with the mess of asynchrony and all it entails. So one of the most important things I've learned through this course, and which was the most useful in this case, was perseverance. So without that, I couldn't have created this. It took about a week to make the node server itself. But unfortunately, there are no live games going on right now, so I cannot display that functionality. So we're going to simulate it. So on my website, you'll see that you'll have a list of all the upcoming live games and previous games from that same weekend, and all of the scores updated in real time. This works through Ember.js's live-bound templating system, Firebase's WebSocket backend service, and the node server that I made myself. So, so if we go into a specific game, you can see that all of the relevant information for that game is displayed on the page, as well as a live chat to people interested in the same game. So when Clemson scores, you'll know right away, and you'll be able to see people react in real time. Apparently they're doing pretty well right now. So the benefits of this app as a whole would be that you can connect to fans of similar interest, as well as joining in on games that you didn't think you'd be interested in, but turn out to be a good game or a good community surrounding that game. And you'll be able to use the dashboard as a hub for every game going on during that weekend. So all of the scores, everything updates in real time, so you have it all there in one place. This app was designed to bring the convenience to keep up with every game and the convenience of connecting to other fans simultaneously. That's my app. Thanks.
Great job, Justin. As Jonathan gets ready, Justin was, again, super impressive. He thought that he was having a really easy time. When he actually pitched the idea to me for this kind of project, I thought that it actually wasn't going to be hard enough, because I was like, all you're going to do is just grab some data from the API and throw it on a page. Because his original app was basically just a live scoring thing. So I told him to think about it, look at some options. And when he looked at the pricing model of the sort of strategic partnerships with the professional sports programs, he realized that he's going to have to do a whole lot from scratch. So I was really impressed with how he pulled everything together. And the other thing I want to mention is that his site, there were actually people in the back using it on their mobile phones. So it is actually responsive, and they were actually back there to do some chatting. It's a fully working real-time chat application with live score updates. It was a really, really impressive application. So good job, Justin. So anyway, Jonathan, take it away.
Thanks, Jake. I'm Jonathan Gully. Before I enrolled in the Iron Yard, I worked at the Columbia Museum of Art for around 8 years, I guess. I managed, or when I left, I was managing the digital media there, so I have a fair amount of experience with photography and video production and graphics, basically digital media. And I'm also a beekeeper. I've been keeping bees for about 6 years, I guess. Any beekeepers out there? What? You guys should keep bees. They're cool. Unless you're allergic like Jake, and then yeah, you should. So yeah. The purpose of my app is basically to connect beekeepers to farmers. There's basically a group of migratory beekeepers that travel all across the United States, populating crops that farmers so they kind of look like that. They stack them up on 18-wheelers and truck them around the United States. So I created an app called Pollinate, and it facilitates that connection. Usually the connection occurs like word of mouth and through static lists, and the contact information might be out of date. So this app facilitates that connection and allows farmers to actually request hives from beekeepers. This is the landing page of a beekeeper, and you can see that they have a request for 23 hives. You can see more info about that request, so like the total cost, how many hives are requested, the start date, so when the beekeeper needs to deliver the hives to the farmer. And it's also like an element of inventory management. So the beekeeper can see how many upcoming requests, so like how many requests are due. I think this is pulling it in 2 weeks. So there's only one request that is due within 2 weeks. And it also shows the hives that are currently on farmers' property. And it produces a short list of the farmers and a list of reviews. And this is the farmers' landing page. It's very similar. Right now, this farmer has not made a request, but we'll take care of that in a second. So we'll search for beekeepers. I used Backbone as my backend with Backbone as my framework and Parse as my backend. I wrote a lot of code that would be taken care of automatically with frameworks like Ember. But I felt that with the queries that I needed to take care of, that Parse and Backbone were kind of a better choice. And Parse actually allows a lot of backend functionality that I'll get into in a second. So right now it's querying all the beekeepers that whose range, so they have a range of like a certain amount of miles. And it's querying all the beekeepers that encompass me. So I'm right here, and these beekeepers have ranges. So I'm within all of the beekeepers listed here. So we go to, that was an expensive kind of query. I actually had to move that on the back end because I had to iterate over all of the beekeepers to check the location. So I used Parse's cloud code capabilities, wrote a function on the back end that takes care of that. So I didn't have to bring it into the front end, and it might crash the browser because it really depends on how many beekeepers it was. But so we'll go to Jago Bees, and you can send a message to the beekeeper or request hives. I've got a pre-fill form here, so I'll go ahead and send them a message, and I'm going to request 10 hives. And the beekeepers can enter information about their operation, so like the cost per hive, transportation information. So if they want to charge extra for a certain distance above the base distance, basically, and then they can have a total number of hives. So I'll go ahead and submit that request. And then I'll go to this page and look at his request. And then that appears here for $600. And go to the farmers. And that also appears on the request page. And beekeeper can accept the request. And then go back to the farmer, and then it's requested, and they can archive the request. They can also edit the request. And there's, I think I just sent a message. Yeah, so I sent a message to JWB, and there it is right there. And if we switch back over to beekeeper side, here's the message that's there from the farmer. And there's also review capabilities, so this farmer guy is good. It's also mobile responsive, so it can be viewed on the on mobile devices. I designed the interface, the user experience. I kept in mind simplicity, because I figured that farmers and I guess beekeepers kind of tend to be older, so I wanted to keep things simple and easy to use. So yeah, get some bees and make some requests.
So as Sarah comes up, Jonathan, you kind of hinted at it, but then I think you got to come back to it. It's like he did a ton of work on the back end. Right? This is a front end engineering course, so we cover a lot of browser applications. But Jonathan needed a lot of heavy logic, really complicated queries, emails that are sent on message. So there's a whole email system where emails are automatically sent on certain events. A lot of really complicated back-end logic. Without, we didn't learn that in class per se, so we really went above and beyond with all that stuff. So great job, Jonathan. Great, and that's very good setup. She also is from Columbia. I think also worked at the Columbia Art Museum, and it's just been
And go on.
And she's just backwards. I was going to say that she was really excited about trying to get into these new frameworks, but made a really tough engineering choice and ended up going with the backbone. I think that you ended up with a really great app. So.
Thanks. Well, enough said. Bye, guys. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, as Jake mentioned. And as he also mentioned, I have a lot of experience with nonprofit administration. Made the decision to come to the Iron Yard about 6 months ago, and I'm here today to show you my app. My app is called Binder. I almost said Bender. Futurama fan, sorry. Okay, so my app is called Binder, and it was made to solve a frustration that I was experiencing here at the Iron Yard, where it's really difficult to share questions and notes and resources with my fellow classmates. We would try and share them through a chat application, and they would always just get lost in the fray. So I decided to do something about that. I created this app so that it's modeled as if it were a message board system. That's going to allow students to join up together into groups or classes in this case, and then they're going to be able to share their thoughts, their comments, any questions or cool websites that they're seeing pretty directly with one another. I built this application using the Backbone JavaScript framework, as Jake mentioned. That was a tough decision to make, but ultimately I love Backbone. It gives me a lot of flexibility, and it really did a lot of good work for me in terms of managing all the views that I had to create here. I also utilized Parse as my backend service, and that really is a huge workhorse for me in terms of the relationship data I'm having to use here. So this application has 5 models, and those are all related together. Some of them so intensely that I had to utilize parse query and parse parent attributes in order to get at the information. Let me go back in. So in order to get to the information and pull it into my views. I have an astonishing 16 views in this application. I'm sure there are apps with more out there. This felt super overwhelming at times, but also necessary because some of my views contain other views, and some of them actually are parent views producing child views. So that was a lot of fun to try and organize and keep straight. With this application, I'm going to go ahead and walk through some of the functionality so you can see it. So I'm just going to log in very quickly as myself here, and I'm going to be taken to my user page. So this just gives me a quick rundown of the courses I'm currently involved in, and then other possible courses that I could join. If there's not a course on here that I'm looking for, I could create that course. And if I were creating that course, it's going to take me to a simple form where I can fill in information, including the school, but that's actually being populated from my account information. So kind of cool being able to just pull that in. Let's see. I'm going to go into Web Development Excellence. I'm going to show you I can drill down into this course information here, and I can see all the posts that have been occurring in here. I can see user information, so I can see that Ollie made this post. I can see a timestamp of when he made it, and then I can also see a little snapshot of the post itself. So this is really good. Sarah, that's me. I had a question earlier about truthy and falsy, so I posted that. And you can drill down into that and look at the actual post itself. You can come down here and you can see people have made comments to help me with my question. So my classmates, Maddie and Jess, stepped up for me here. They found some resources for me and they posted them here. And I figured out what truthy and falsy is all about. I can also make a comment. So I've already said thank you, but I'm going to thank them again because they're pretty great. And that's going to update in real time. The post here, these also update in real time. And as you can see, some of the websites, you have the ability to post a website here. So let's just say the best resource of them all. I'm going to put that on there. So it's going to go ahead and add the HTTP prefix here for me because I didn't do it myself. And if I click that, it's going to take me out to that website. So I can just venture out to that directly from the message board system. So let's see, what else? You can also come in here and update your account if you want to. And then I did want to show off another feature. I'm pretty excited about this. This was very difficult, so I'm going to share it with you. I included a plugin that's called TypeAhead.js. It's a pretty neat thing. You can populate some data into your system, and then just by typing here, it's going to pull up my list of options that contain the letter U. So I could keep typing, and it's going to narrow that list on what I'm typing into it. This was pretty challenging at times, but a lot of fun to work with. Once I finally got it finished, let's be clear. So, I also wanted to mention, I worked in somewhat of a team style here, not with another programmer, but actually with one of our design students. She's here somewhere today, and she's pretty awesome. So she and I kind of went through the idea of my application. We decided it'd be really cool to put this together and make it look like a composition notebook. I don't know if you guys are picking up on that styling here, especially some of the post-its and things. So she went through and she designed a couple of things that are called wireframes for me. Just helps me kind of imagine how I'm going to lay out the pages as I'm just working on the functionality. So whenever I was finally able to get to some of my design work, this really helped me along. She also put together a style tile for me here that I really was inspired by, so I used a lot of the color selection and some of the font information. So it was a really cool experience to get to work with a designer in what felt sort of like what the real world probably feels like outside of the Iron Yard. So that's my application. Hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to find me after the presentations. Thank you.
Great job. Great job, Sarah. As our final presentation, Ollie and Tommy comes up. I just want to say that Sarah did one of the most impressive things of all, I think, which is communicate what she learned, right? Communicating with others, like, one thing to be able to sit down and program a website, but being able to work with a designer and communicate the possibilities, the restrictions, and requirements is, in my experience, one of the most difficult parts of software development. And so I'm really proud of what she accomplished with that.
Tommy's just breaking it.
Tommy's internet went down, so just keep talking.
Should I just play you? So Tommy and Ollie, also one of our team projects, they really did a really impressive job. They really approached me with the idea. At first, it was just Ollie actually approached me with this idea that was really grandiose.
It was so big.
I said,
way too good.
I said, you know, that sounds really cool, and I think you could probably do it, but we only have 3 weeks, so you're really going to have to cut a lot of this out. That's pretty much what I said. And so he was pretty bummed, I think, like, This is something that he really wanted to accomplish. And so he thought about it and he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. And he was able to bring Tommy on board. And like I said before, working with a team is actually more difficult than working on your own. And that may seem counterintuitive, but like again, communicating with somebody else about what you're working on, what you understand, the problems you face, is one of the most difficult skills to learn. And so, I don't know how much time I can fill it here, but
That's that guy. That guy's one of the problem.
But anyway, I was really impressed with it. They were able to complete all his original vision. I guess it was pretty much everything that you had in your.
That's small.
Yeah, so like they were able to accomplish this really large vision through teamwork and through a little bit of hard-headedness and fighting me on what I thought was possible. And I was really happy with how everything turned out. Wow, good timing, Tommy. Okay, I didn't have anything else to say.
Thanks, Jake. Jake is fighting so hard, man.
Let's see if this thing works. All right.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Are you sure?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Ollie. I'm from Manchester in the UK. Before I joined the Iron Yard, I was working in the financial sector for some large grocery store chains.
My name's Tommy Barth. I'm from Portland, Oregon originally, and before I came to the Iron Yard, I was a carpenter.
So yeah, the problem we're solving with this app is, I mean, I'm a big festival goer. I love to go to festivals, and the problem I have is fest apps, they're okay. They're never the best. They have some good functionality, but not everything I need for my festival experience. I mean, for example, if I go to a festival, have one too many beers, and I meet some cool people, don't ask for their contact details, I'll never see those people again, or I can troll through Facebook or Twitter for 5 billion people. But with our app, it's so much simpler. I mean, you can use this for conferences as well, and say if you were swimming in business cards, you know, that's too much. But with this, you can find those people so easily. So we basically built a white label micro social network and a scheduling application, and it's called Upstage.
Upstage, we built it using Ember.js, Ember Data, and we used Firebase. We decided to use Firebase because of its capability for live updates. But the problem with Firebase is it's a NoSQL database. It doesn't deal with relational data very well. So we actually had to build a MySQL database on top of Firebase itself.
Yeah, we looked for APIs. We looked at Spotify's and Last.fm's, and they weren't exactly what we needed. So we decided just to build our own. We built a second app that basically inputs all of our data into Firebase so easily, and it was a good idea. And also our app's fully responsive. Here you see we have it on mobile and tablet. We tested this on anything we could get our hands on, and it worked brilliantly. So to the app.
All right, so when you sign up for the app, you're going to be able to upload a picture, give yourself a little personal statement, and it will bring you to this screen. One of the first things we ran into is that we wanted this to be, we designed it mobile first, we wanted it to be a hybrid mobile app, but we were using File Picker for photo uploads, and File Picker's got a bug where it's tough to deal with EXIF data. So we had to hack around that a little bit, but we finally got it working, works great on mobile. So yeah, it'll bring you to this this landing page, your profile page. You have a little message board where people can leave you messages. You can see everybody that you follow, all the bands on your schedule. All of these things are links that will take you to all that content. And you also have a little Twitter feed down here at #festival. The next thing you'll probably want to do is go find your friends. So over here on the users page, we'll look for, hey, that's my buddy Matt right there. We wanted this to be, we definitely wanted this to be a social network, and so, but we also wanted it to be private. You can run into some creepy people at music festivals, and if you don't want them to get your contact information, then you don't want to. But Matt has decided to make his email public so that we can get a hold of him. His user page, all your friends' user pages have the same 3 fields that are on the profile page, but with a couple added bonuses, people that you both know, and also bands that you're both going to see to allow you to kind of schedule accordingly. You also, once you follow Matt, you can see it updates in the people that I follow.
And it also gives me this little message board, and I can send Matt a message. And there he is. He's hitting me back. That's awesome. All right. Venues. Okay. One of the ways that you can search for bands is you can search by the venues. The venues page has links to all the venues, as well as this nice map of Greenville that has pins on all of the venues, hotels, as well as some great places to eat. When you go to the venue page, you get the lowdown on the venue, as well as all of the bands that are going to be playing there and their times, and then a little Google map to help you navigate.
Cool. Search for some bands, man.
All right.
Show how it works.
Next thing you're going to want to do is add some bands to your schedule. So we'll go ahead and find Insects versus Robots. They're an awesome band from Los Angeles, where I live.
Yeah, so this is the band page, and one of the problems we had was we were looking for good audio players. Can I do that?
Please, yes.
Kind of steal my line. We were looking at Spotify's, but Spotify's audio player, it takes you away from the site into their own site, so we didn't really want to use that. So we decided to use Bandcamps instead, and the good thing about them is you can split them and put them into your backend, and they populate like in real time, and it's pretty cool. And so you can go and see like there's a little blurb about the band and like where they're playing, and then there's these two. Basically, go to festivals. Sometimes I have a clash, and I don't know which way to go. But with this, I mean, I can go to one show and there might be 1,000 people there, or there might be 500 at another one. So I think there's a better chance to get into the 500 people show. So I can see, oh, look, how many people are going to this show? And I can see, oh, Matt's going to this show. I'm going to go with Matt to this show. So we can do that. And
that brings us
to the schedule. So this is probably the most powerful part of the app. I mean, this is when I had the idea in mind. This is what I really wanted to hone in on. We were looking for calendar apps at first, but they didn't work as we wanted them to. And they were cool, but not the best. So we just decided to build our own again. It's fully dynamic. So, you know, each bandwidth and the band break is coming from the back end. So the application, I mean, for example, there's a gap here in the festival. So if Tommy wants to show us.
So we can see this band and, hey, add that band to your schedule. It updates in real time. It's also awesome if you have a clash in your schedule and you can't decide which band you want to see. If you want to see Perfect Monster or Lifted Bells, you can go to Lifted Bells. You can go to the Perfect Monster site, excuse me. You can check out who's going to the show. We can see that Matt Doherty's going to the show, and we want to go to that show with Matt, so we'll just go ahead, go to the Lifted Bells, and remove them from our schedule.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule itself is so modular. You can use this for any kind of social event, really. I mean, we were talking conferences, but for example, we built a second Firebase, and we changed a few just small design features, and this is how fast it is just to build another app if a festival came along and actually wanted to use this. How are you doing?
Doing good. So we just changed a couple styles, and we changed the link to the Firebase backend. And you can see, we can log right back in. And our new festival is generated for us. This is me and Ollie are the only two fans here, but you can see you got a new list of venues, a new list of bands, as well as a brand new dynamically generated schedule.
Thank you.
Great job, guys. And just in case you didn't hear it, they actually built two applications. One of them you didn't even see. One is like an administrator app. You know, it's basic forms and stuff like that, so they want to show form after form after form. But in 3 weeks, the two of them basically built two fully functional applications, all working through a single database. It was really impressive. I do want to just add a general note that, you know, after you see all these things, you might think, well, you know, big deal, this is just, they had 3 whole weeks to work on this. But I just want to reiterate how much time and effort everybody spent on this. That I think what really set them apart in my mind, and I wasn't really sure how to put this, but I think the best way is that the thing I'm most proud of our graduates is not necessarily the product that they made, but the mindset that they came out with. The thing that like makes me most proud is the fact that they no longer need me. That they actually, towards the end of it, they're getting kind of frustrated, like, no, I got this. And I was just so proud of the mindset that they, maybe a little hubristically, have this like crazy idea that they can do anything. That regardless of what challenges they're faced with, they know they can learn it. They're going to go out into the workforce. People are going to push them to problems they've never had, and they're going to say, "Well, I had no idea how to do that, but I know I can learn it like that." And I just could not be more impressed with the students who graduated this semester. So thank you all for coming. I don't know if Roy wanted to wrap up or anything. So thank you again for coming out.
Stick around and have some beer and chat with the grads.
Yes, please ask some questions, grill them on their technical details of their application, test their communication skills, right? What are you saying that? But thank you so much for coming again. It means a lot to us.